My family uninvited me from the $8,000 Christmas chalet I paid for, and I'm still in shock. I can't believe I'm even typing this, but I feel like I need to get it off my chest. I've always loved Christmas. The lights, the music, the smell of cookies in the oven. It's my favorite time of year. So this year I decided to go all out. I booked an $8,000 chalet in the mountains, thinking it would be the perfect escape for my family. I spent weeks planning, ordering decorations, hiring a catering service for a gourmet Christmas dinner, even arranging a small fireworks show outside for Christmas Eve. I wanted this to be the kind of Christmas everyone would remember. For context, my family is complicated. My parents are controlling, always needing things done their way. My siblings can be entitled and dramatic, constantly trying to one-up each other or make everything about themselves. And don't even get me started on my aunt and uncle. They love to critique every little thing, from how you set the table to what gifts you buy. I knew this Christmas might be challenging, but I genuinely thought that by hosting it somewhere magical, I could bring everyone together and have a good time. Then, 2 weeks before the trip, I got the text that shattered everything. My sister casually wrote, "Hey, just a heads up, we're not coming to the chalet this year. Too busy. Christmas at home sounds easier." That's it. No apology, no discussion, no compromise, just a cold, "We're not coming." I stared at my phone for what felt like an eternity. My stomach dropped. My heart raced. I had spent $8,000 on a chalet, catering, decorations, the works, and they didn't even want to come. I tried calling my mom. I tried my dad. Nothing changed. They all said some variation of the same thing. "We think it's too much effort this year," or "We've got other plans." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could they just uninvite me after I put in so much time and money? I won't lie. My initial reaction was pure shock. Anger came soon after. I was furious. I had envisioned the whole family laughing by the fireplace, sipping hot chocolate, singing Christmas carols together. Instead, it felt like my plans had been completely disregarded. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. After all, this was family. People you trust, people who are supposed to care about you, your effort, your intentions. I sat there for hours, just staring at the chalet booking confirmation on my laptop. At first, I considered just showing up and hoping they'd change their minds. But then I realized something important. I wasn't going to let them disrespect me like this without consequences. I wasn't going to react impulsively or do something I'd regret later, but I also wasn't going to let the chalet go to waste. There had to be a way to turn the tables. I started thinking about all the little things that could go wrong if they decided at the last minute to scramble together a home Christmas. What if the caterer canceled last minute? What if the chalet's calendar conflicted with another booking? What if, well, maybe I shouldn't give away all my plans just yet. Let's just say the chalet wasn't going to be wasted and my family might be in for a surprise. It's strange. I feel a mix of hurt and a quiet satisfaction. Hurt because family should support each other, and satisfaction because I finally feel like I have a little control in a situation where I've been repeatedly sidelined. I can't help but imagine the looks on their faces when they realize that all of this, the chalet, the decorations, the food, they've just tossed aside with a casual text. I'm not sure what will happen next. I don't know if they'll beg to come at the last minute or if they'll stick to their plans at home. Excuse. But one thing is certain. I won't be the one left scrambling. I won't be the one feeling hurt and frustrated while they enjoy some half-hearted Christmas at home. The chalet, the effort, the magic, it's mine to control now. And honestly, that feels pretty good. So here I am, typing this in disbelief, trying to process everything. I never imagined that my own family could treat me this way. I never imagined I'd be plotting in a very calm and measured way how to make sure they understand the consequences of their choices. And yet, here I am. The chalet is booked, the decorations are ready, and the caterer is confirmed. I'm in control, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not at the mercy of my family's whims. I don't want to sound vindictive. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's Christmas for the sake of it. I just want to make sure that the effort, the money, and the love I poured into this holiday don't go completely ignored. And maybe, just maybe, they'll realize that treating me like this has consequences. I'm still in shock, still hurt, still trying to wrap my head around the betrayal. But I have a plan. And if my family thinks they can casually uninvite me from a Christmas I paid thousands for, they've got another thing coming. The chalet isn't going anywhere, and the magic of this holiday, well, it might just surprise them. Update 1. After the initial shock of being uninvited from the $8,000 chalet I had meticulously planned, I spent a few days stewing. At first, I was tempted to call my family out, beg them to reconsider, or even throw a tantrum. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that reacting impulsively would only make me feel worse. If I was going to do this, I had to approach it strategically, calmly, deliberately, and with a sense of quiet satisfaction. The chalet, as I reminded myself over and over, was booked. The decorations were ordered. The catering was scheduled. Every tiny detail had been planned down to the smallest ornament. The point wasn't revenge in a cruel sense. It was control. I wasn't going to let months of planning, thousands of dollars, and my own excitement go to waste. They may have wanted to cancel me out, but the chalet, the food, the magic would remain. And if they wanted to witness it, they would have to face the consequences of their own choices. I started by double-checking every booking. The chalet was solid. No cancellations possible from my end. The caterer confirmed the menu, from smoked salmon appetizers to a decadent chocolate yolog. I even confirmed the small fireworks display I had booked for Christmas Eve. It wasn't cheap, but watching the night sky light up would be spectacular. Every little detail was locked in. Every little detail was theirs to miss. Meanwhile, my family began to react. I started getting passive-aggressive texts from my sister. Wow, I hope you're happy, spending all that money for nothing. My mom called once, trying to guilt me. We're just too busy, sweetie. Maybe next year. My dad, well, you didn't call at all. Silence. I couldn't decide whether it hurt more or less. What made it worse was how they seemed to completely underestimate me. They thought I would cave, beg, or at least feel guilty enough to let them off the hook. I didn't. The calm control I felt was almost intoxicating. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. And as I double-checked every detail of the chalet and the bookings, I allowed myself a tiny smile. I even started imagining how Christmas might unfold without them. A quiet morning by the fire, maybe some hot cocoa and cookies just for me, watching the snow fall. The chalet itself was incredible. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the pine-covered mountains, a roaring fireplace, a kitchen that any chef would envy. The thought of them missing all of this because of their own choices, it was satisfying. Of course, I wasn't content to let it end there. I wanted to make sure they understood just what they were walking away from. I carefully left hints, small, almost accidental reminders that the chalet existed, that the catering was real, that the decorations were up and ready. A shared Instagram story here, a casual text about how perfect the chalet looked there. Nothing confrontational, just a subtle nudge that the holiday magic they had dismissed was very real and very beautiful. And then I started to notice the cracks. Some family members didn't take the news as lightly as the others. My younger cousin texted me, "Are you seriously going without us?" My aunt called, pretending to be casual but clearly curious. "I can't believe you went ahead without telling us what you had planned." Their interest was piqued. The stakes were rising. I spent the next few days preparing mentally for the inevitable chaos. I imagined them scrambling to find last-minute alternatives for Christmas, realizing that the chalet, the caterers, and all my planning couldn't be replicated overnight. I imagined the arguments that would break out over who was supposed to cook what, how to fit everyone in someone's house, or how to salvage gifts and decorations. I imagined the frustration and disappointment on their faces when they realized they had casually tossed away a magical Christmas and had no plan B. And yet, through it all, I remained calm. I didn't gloat. I didn't taunt. I simply let the situation exist as it was, knowing that the fallout would speak for itself. Watching my family try to recreate the holiday they so carelessly dismissed, that was the real satisfaction. I also took some time for myself. I walked through the chalet virtually, checking every detail. The gourmet catering menu was finalized. The Christmas tree was enormous, with lights and ornaments carefully placed in my vision. The living spaces were cozy, warm, inviting. Even the fireplace was prepped with logs and kindling. Everything was perfect. Everything was ready. And they had chosen not to be a part of it. I realized something important during those quiet days. I didn't need their validation. I didn't need their approval. I had done something remarkable for myself. A beautiful, carefully curated holiday that reflected my effort, my taste, and my love for the season. They could choose to sit it out, to be petty, to make excuses. But I had one before the first argument or guilt trip even started. I'll admit, part of me wondered if I was being childish. Was I letting pride dictate my actions? But then I thought about how they treated me, how they had dismissed my effort, undermined my excitement, and treated an $8,000 investment like it was a minor inconvenience. I wasn't being childish. I was setting boundaries. I was demonstrating that my time, money, and emotional energy were not theirs to take for granted. And so, as Christmas approached, I waited, patiently, calmly. With every little hint dropped and every subtle reminder posted, I knew the stage was being set. The chalet was ready. The magic was ready. And the fallout? That would be spectacular. By the time Christmas Eve rolled around, I felt a strange mix of anticipation and peace. Anticipation because I couldn't wait to see how my family handled the situation. Peace because I knew that I had done everything I could to create a magical holiday. For me, without drama, without stress, and without people who clearly didn't respect the effort I put in. The chalet was mine. The holiday magic was mine. And the consequences of my family's choices? Well, they were about to find out. Update 2. Christmas Eve arrived, and with it, the first signs of chaos. I stayed home, enjoying a quiet morning with a cup of coffee and a fire crackling in the background. But I couldn't help checking my phone. I just knew that my family's easy at-home Christmas was about to descend into chaos. And I admit, I couldn't resist watching it unfold. It started with frantic texts. My sister, "Okay, but seriously, what do we do now? Mom keeps asking if we should just go to your chalet last minute." My mom chimed in, "I didn't realize it would be such a big deal. Maybe we can still swing something." And my dad, well, he was silent, probably realizing too late that his nonchalance had consequences. From what I could gather, the first problem was logistics. None of their homes were large enough to fit everyone comfortably. My aunt's dining room table barely fit 6 people, and there were 10 in the family who had committed. They scrambled to rearrange furniture, drag out folding chairs, and figure out how to seat everyone for dinner. I couldn't help but smirk. Then came the food. Without a planned menu or caterers, chaos ensued. My cousin volunteered to cook, my uncle tried to help, and my mom kept hovering, criticizing everything. By the time they realized someone forgot to buy the ham, the oven was broken, and half the ingredients were missing, the panic hit full force. I got a screenshot of my sister's group chat. She was sending photos of burnt appetizers and soggy salad leaves. Meanwhile, I had my own Christmas. I spent the day decorating the chalet with fresh pine garlands and fairy lights. I brewed cocoa, baked cookies, and tested the fireplace, making sure everything was perfect. Outside, the snow was falling softly, dusting the pine trees in white. The chalet was warm, inviting, and stress-free. For the first time in years, I felt that Christmas magic without tension or guilt. Back with my family, arguments erupted. My aunt blamed my cousin for overcooking the roast. My uncle shouted at the oven manufacturer. My mom tried to delegate tasks while simultaneously criticizing everyone. My sister posted in the group chat, "This is ridiculous. How can anyone ruin Christmas this badly?" The chaos was deliciously spectacular. Then, the gift situation exploded. Because the family had assumed I would provide the main holiday gathering, they hadn't coordinated presents properly. My cousin's handmade gift for my mom got lost in the shuffle. My dad had bought duplicate gifts for everyone. My sister's attempt at a DIY decoration project ended in glue disasters and broken ornaments. I got multiple screenshots from them showing the disasters. They didn't even realize I was watching with a sense of calm amusement. Social media added fuel to the fire. My sister posted a story. Christmas might be ruined. Chaos everywhere. My cousin commented, "Send help." My aunt even tagged a few distant relatives, indirectly broadcasting the disaster to extended family. Their pride and curated online personas were crumbling in real time, and I watched silently, smiling. I checked in on the chalet's preparations mid-afternoon. The tree was perfectly lit, the cocoa smelled heavenly, and the caterers had arrived, setting up the Christmas feast I had carefully planned. Every detail was exactly as I imagined. I walked through the chalet, enjoying the quiet elegance, the twinkle of the lights, and the soft hum of holiday music in the background. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. My perfect Christmas versus their collapsing one. By evening, things escalated further. My family tried a last-ditch effort. Someone suggested driving to a nearby restaurant. Of course, reservations were impossible. They hadn't thought to book anything ahead. Arguments broke out in the car, fingers were pointed, and tempers flared. I could almost hear the stress radiating from the texts and calls. Meanwhile, at the chalet, I had a peaceful Christmas Eve dinner alone. I toasted with a glass of sparkling cider, enjoying my perfectly cooked meal. I lit the fireplace, watched the snow fall outside, and felt content. Not just content, but triumphant. I had done nothing wrong, but I had created a holiday that reflected my effort, my taste, and my vision. My family had chosen to ignore it. That choice was theirs, and now they were paying the price. And yet, I didn't gloat. I didn't mock. I simply allowed events to unfold naturally. Every failed dish, every heated argument, every logistical nightmare was a result of their own decisions. I had provided a perfect opportunity, and they had walked away. The lesson was theirs to learn, and I let it teach itself. By nightfall, I decided to take a short walk outside. The fireworks display I had planned for Christmas Eve lit up the sky, reflecting off the fresh snow. The colors danced across the chalet, and I couldn't help but imagine the stunned faces of my family had they been there. Their easy Christmas at home was turning into a disaster. While I was watching snowflakes fall, wrapped in a blanket, listening to the gentle crackle of the fireplace, and feeling peace for the first time in years. Texts continued to trickle in. My sister, "Okay, this is officially the worst Christmas ever. How is your chalet perfect?" My mom, probably trying to save face. "Maybe next year we can plan better." I read them all silently, sipping my cocoa, letting the weight of their choices sink in. They had dismissed me, ignored my efforts, and in doing so, set themselves up for this chaos. It was more than just a holiday. It was a lesson. They saw firsthand that effort, planning, and care matter, and that dismissing someone's contributions has consequences. The chalet, the food, the decorations, the magic, they had all been mine to enjoy, and they had walked away. As I settled in for the night, I felt an unexpected warmth. Not just from a fire, not just from the lights, but from a sense of empowerment. I hadn't sought revenge in a malicious way. I had simply allowed them to face the consequences of their choices while I enjoyed the fruits of my labor. I couldn't help but smile. Christmas, for me, had never felt so satisfying, peaceful, or complete. And as for my family, I'm not sure what their next move will be, but I know this. Their perfect Christmas had collapsed, while mine, though quiet and solo, had flourished. Final update. It's been a few months since that Christmas, and I've finally had time to process everything. Looking back, I still can't quite believe how my family treated me that year. Being uninvited from a chalet I'd spent $8,000 on, and all the effort, planning, and love I poured into it, was a gut punch I never expected. But in hindsight, it also taught me a lot. First, about them. My family's priorities were painfully clear. Convenience, pride, and entitlement came before gratitude, respect, or even basic decency. Some of them have barely spoken to me since, and others have tried to act as though nothing happened. My sister, who uninvited me so casually, still posts vague complaints about the stress of the holidays, conveniently leaving out that she could have had the most magical Christmas just by showing up. My parents, well, they've kept busy avoiding confrontation entirely. But here's the thing. I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need their validation or their participation to feel that I did something wonderful. That Christmas, I created something spectacular. Not for them, but for myself. The chalet, the lights, the cocoa, the cozy fire. It was all perfect, and I got to enjoy it in peace. That's a feeling no one can take away. I've also noticed subtle shifts in their behavior. A few cousins who were previously dismissive now reach out occasionally, asking about future plans or even hinting they might want to join. There's a quiet acknowledgement that the effort I put into that holiday wasn't insignificant. The lesson, whether they consciously recognize it or not, has sunk in: don't underestimate me, don't disregard me, and never assume I'll let myself be sidelined. As for me, I've changed too. I've learned that boundaries aren't just important, they're essential. That Christmas made me realize I had spent years trying to please people who wouldn't appreciate it, and that effort drained me without reward. I've since become more selective about who I share my energy and time with, focusing on people who actually value it. The peace I feel now is incomparable to any frantic, stress-filled family gathering I endured before. And the joy, oh, the joy. There's something quietly satisfying about knowing that, for once, the chaos of someone else's choices played out without dragging you down. I watched my family scramble, argue, and panic, and I didn't need to lift a finger. I didn't gloat. I simply allowed the situation to unfold, knowing I had done everything in my power to create something beautiful. Their frustration was theirs alone, and I savored the contrast between their stress and my calm enjoyment. Since then, I've hosted smaller, more meaningful gatherings with friends and loved ones who truly appreciate the effort. Cozy dinners, low-stress celebrations, and quiet evenings by the fire have replaced the high-stakes, high-drama family events. I've realized that joy doesn't come from perfection or from impressing others. It comes from creating experiences that bring genuine happiness, even if it's just for yourself. My family, meanwhile, seems to be stuck in the fallout. The story of that Christmas has become a cautionary tale of sorts. Without ever having to lecture or confront them, they learned firsthand that dismissing someone's effort has consequences. Some of them have tried to make amends quietly, but I've kept my distance. The holiday magic I created was mine, and I don't need to share it with people who refuse to respect me. Looking back, I realized that being uninvited was the best thing that could have happened. It forced me to stop seeking approval from people who don't appreciate it, and showed me that I am capable of creating joy on my own terms. The chalet, the decorations, the cocoa, the quiet peace, it all stands as a reminder that I don't need anyone else to make life magical. I can finally say I'm at peace with it. The hurt has faded into a quiet determination to never let anyone dismiss me again. I've taken ownership of my energy, my effort, and my happiness. And in doing so, I've discovered something wonderful. That true joy comes from intention, preparation, and self-respect, not from trying to win approval from people who don't care. So yes, my family's Christmas collapsed, and yes, I watched it happen from the comfort of a warm, beautifully decorated chalet. But more importantly, I discovered the satisfaction of standing firm, honoring my own effort, and finally enjoying a holiday without chaos, guilt, or disrespect. And as I sip my cocoa by the fireplace, the snow gently falling outside, I smile. Not with bitterness, not with vengeance, but with quiet, peaceful triumph. That Christmas wasn't perfect because of my family. It was perfect because I chose to make it so. And for the first time in years, I feel fully, unapologetically in control of my own happiness.